But how is all this going to be impacting our Indian markets? What are we watching out for today? We have a team of research, as always, here to set you up for trade, tell you which are the important stocks to watch out for in today's trading session. First up, we have Vamakshi, who's here to give us the all-important market cues that we should be keeping an eye out on this morning. Good morning, Vamakshi.
Well, good morning, Vinny. Let me first start off with what happened last week. Keep in mind that Wall Street, had a fabulous week last week. Nasdaq was up almost 4% and in fact closed at a record high. S&P 500 was up almost 2.43% and the Dow Jones ended almost 1% or so higher as far as the week is concerned. Now, what happened in Asia is also quite similar. Hang Seng was up almost 1.5%. The Kospi too closed the week with good gains of around 3%. But it was the Nifty that actually underperformed most of the global as well as the Asian indices. Nifty closed with a loss of almost 0.8%. Now, the market fell for the sixth straight week. This is the longest losing streak that we've seen since 2020. And, the cumulative loss that Nifty has posted over the last 6 weeks is almost 5%. The broader markets too continued to underperform. As far as sectoral indices are concerned, the fall was largely led by Nifty Pharma as well as Nifty Realty. Both of these indices were some of the top losers last week, and PSU banks on the flip side were the top sectoral gainers. Now, as far as today is concerned, and in fact this week is concerned, there are a couple of economic cues that we need to watch out for. August 12th, we'll be keeping an eye out on India's CPI as well as US CPI data. August 14th, India's WPI and US PPI will also be something that we'll be watching out for, and this is a truncated week because August 15th will be closed for trading on account of Independence Day. Lots of earnings lined up today. Astral, BML, Krishna Diagnostics, Som Distilleries, Tilak Nagar Industries, Titagarh Rail Systems. As far as today's earnings reaction are concerned, we'll be watching out for Tata Motors, Siemens, Voltas and Manappuram Finance. These counters will be reacting to their numbers. Keep in mind, Bluestone Jewelry will also be opening. The IPO will be opening for subscription. That is another thing that we'll be watching out for. The Gift Nifty will also come up for you on the screen. It was indicating a flat start for today's trading session now with a slight negative bias.
Okay, Vamakshi, thank you so much for that. So, slight bit of a negative bias over there for the Gift Nifty. But let's move on to Gaurav, who's waiting by to tell us which are the important stocks that we should be keeping on our radar this morning. Good morning, Gaurav.
Well, good morning. When we look at the weekend, it was not a pleasant weekend when we talk about earnings, because let's talk about Voltas first. Revenue declined almost by 20%, while profit declined almost by 58% on a year-on-year basis. So a weak set of number here. Other than that, Siemens also came up with weak set of numbers. EBITDA margin that came in at around just 12% versus estimates of 12.3%. And when we look at profit, that also declined almost by 3% on a year-on-year basis. Tata Motors, mixed set of number is what we saw. Revenue declined almost by 3%, while EBITDA margins declined to around 9.3% versus what it was at 14% just a year ago in the same quarter. Manappuram Finance also came up with weak set of numbers. Net profit that declined almost by 76%. In fact, numbers were expected to be weak, but operationally this was a weak quarter for Manappuram because net interest income that declined almost by 14% on a year-on-year basis. Power Mech on the other hand, actually, there we saw a good set of numbers. Revenue increased almost by 28%, while profit increased almost by 30% on a year-on-year basis. Other than earnings, there are few candidates who will be on our radar. First is ICICI Bank, because now bank has raised its average minimum balance for savings account in metro and urban areas to 50,000 versus what it was at 10,000 rupees. Shilpa Medicare, now this company is also going to be on our radar today, and this is because CDSCO, which is one of the Indian drug regulator, has given approval for NOR-UDCA drug. Now, this drug is used for fatty liver disease, and this company is actually the first of its kind to launch this drug. Other than that, OMCs are going to be in focus because government has approved 30,000 crores of compensation for LPG under recoveries. Jefferies estimate that this can actually give upside of around 29 to 42% on EBITDA. And lastly, let's also focus on Home First because there's going to be a block deal today, and indicative price is going to be somewhere in the range of 1,143 to 1,202 rupees per share.
Okay, Gaurav, thank you so much for that. Important stocks to keep on our radar this morning. Finally, we have Mangalam, who's here to tell us what are the important cues that we should be watching out for in the world of FNO. Good morning, Mangalam.
Good morning. So 6 consecutive weeks of a downtick for the frontline index. So there's no two ways that, there has been a fair amount of bearishness from the FIIs in the FNO space itself. The question is for what time period and for how long? So it was a near 1% decline that we saw on Friday. In fact, the Nifty ended close to the day's low, and that day's low was much lower than what we thought in the first part of trade. and pretty close to what we saw on August 7th as the day's low as well. So between 24,350 to 24,300 is where the market has been making these lows. On the cash market, though, we saw purchase from both DIIs and FIIs to the tune of almost 10,000 crores put together. But the answer to that is because, Bharti Airtel, there was a large trade that day. So as a result of which, there was that big institutional buying. No, support coming in from the FIIs in index futures. They sold another 1,800 crores, added 10,000 short contracts. And in doing so, their net contracts are now at just 8.3% long and nearly 1.8 lakh contracts on the short side. So that scheme of FII holdings comes up for you on the screen. On the other hand, it's the clients, the retail HNIs of the country who are on the long side, 70% long exposure, plus 1.24 lakh in terms of long contracts. But the put-call ratio on Friday after that decline has gone back to near oversold levels of 0.66. So we'll have to watch out for whether there is a bounce in the frontline index or not. 24,500 is the call, which is extremely active, as is the 24,600 call, telling you that there is strong supply at higher levels, closer to 25,600 to 25,650. And at the lower level, though, the next leg of support we're looking at is 24,200, because that's where a lot of the put writers are at 24,300. On the way up, we have to look at the 100-day moving average. On the way down, were we to break this 24,200 zone, we will have to look at the 200-day moving average as the last leg of support. In terms of stocks, Kalyan Jewellers saw a lot of short positions being added on Friday. And RBL Bank, we had alluded to the possibility of that bank entering F&O ban. That's exactly what's taking place.
Okay, Mangalam, thank you so much for that.